First of all, thanks for stopping by.
Kirk, always.
Always
My
good.
pleasure.
We competed a little bit against each other.
Yes, we did.
I've done a lot of reading. We played against each other. We don't really look into each other, and then we want to beat each other. You're 65 years old now.
Yes, I am.
Do you still compete?
Not like I used to. I'm pretty banged up. I've had partial knee replacement. I've had shoulder surgery. I've had 2 back surgeries. I can't get on the golf course. I can't do anything real active. I can't run anymore. But I stay active. I'm not sedentary, and I refuse to give in. So I'm actually first time. I just had back surgery in January, and I'm first time I've been pain free in like 25 years.
Attaboy. I got a couple things for you, like ping pong.
Okay,
We're
sure.
gonna play a little ping pong or pool.
You probably,
know?
but we're 2 left-handers. That's
It's okay. I play right-handed.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. If you play left, I'll play right.
Okay.
You know, I read somewhere where you made a statement like you played out of the fear of failure, and you
Yes.
said something like that was a tough way to be. What's so tough about that?
Well, I just think it makes it a lot tougher on yourself. I used to be able to perform when my back was against the wall. My father taught me how to play the game. He was a minor league player, got as high as.
He played.
He played with actually he played during World War II in Pearl Harbor. He was in the Navy, and with Musial on the Navy team.
That's right.
So my dad was a first baseman. My brother went to Cal, was an All-American, and got as high as AA in the Cardinal chain. My dad taught us how to play, but he also and hit, and also the philosophy of hitting. So every time the last 10 pitches of BP was always the 7th game of the World Series, 0-2 count, tie ball game in the 7th game, Whitey Ford on the mound or Bob Gibson, and he would throw a little bit harder, and he taught us to be better 2-strike hitters. I played with Lou Brock, who was my mentor. And
Yeah, when you came up with Kansas City.
oh no, St. Louis.
I'm sorry, St. Louis.
Yes.
You're like the 41st round,
Yes.
700 and some guy drafted.
Yes.
But before we get to that, you didn't play your senior year in high school.
Right. I probably would have been a #1 draft pick from one of the 26 teams at that point. I don't know how many teams there were. But my coach, I came out late from basketball. I wasn't in shape to throw. I was a pitcher as well as a first baseman. And my arm wasn't ready, and I was getting killed, and I just had an issue with I had a coach that really shouldn't have been handling teenage kids, so I quit. I went and played semi-pro ball on weekends until school was out, and then I went into Joe DiMaggio, which is in California, Northern California. It's was our version of Babe Ruth.
You're right.
And I killed it. The Cardinals took a chance on me in June, signed me. I was still available way down there. So they said, what the heck? And
That's an unbelievable story. 41st round.
Yes,
and
yes.
Turned out to have that good a career. So get back to Lou Brock was your
oh,
mentor.
Lou always embraced the game and always had an attitude of, I mean, the game was always a challenge. Every at-bat's a challenge. And everybody talks about pressure. I never thought in terms of pressure. I always thought in terms of a challenge. Pressure is a negative in my view. I'm sure it is with you. You feel the same way. You have to thrive in pressure situations. You have to want to.
Affirmation. I
Yep.
used to say the same thing. I love pressure situations
Right.
because you're trying to alleviate that pressure, so you can use your abilities, right?
Correct, and you have to want to be in that situation. You have to want to get up with the men on base. I always felt the one at bat that I could give away, and Pete Rose was another guy that told me never give away those at bats when it's 10-0 and you're 4 for whether you're 4 for 4 or 0 for 4. He goes, it's a 10-0 game and it's a Sunday afternoon in Atlanta and it's hot. He goes, at last at bat that really doesn't mean anything. He goes, don't give in. And that was one of the great pieces of advice I got in my career.
I got that advice too from somebody you may know. I came up in '79, and this person was on the team, and he asked me, "How many bats did you give away this year?"
Yeah.
And I said, "I had too many to count." And I said, "How about you?" He said, "1." Who's that guy?
You tell me.
Rusty Staub.
Oh, Rusty. Tell me how great was Orange. He was a good man. I'm so happy that I got a chance to play with him. You know, another thing that Pete...
One at bat all year? Come on, is he telling me the truth?
Rusty was pretty disciplined, don't you think?
Unbelievable.
Yes, and he can pitchers and tip pitches. He was the best I ever saw at picking up.
Did you do that?
No, I never did. And Rusty wouldn't tell me. You know, he said, you didn't earn it. he had a little red book, and it went back to like 1962 pictures and 63 pictures. And when I finally retired, he gave me the book. He never let me look at it. I said, "What good is this book gonna do for me now?"
So if I had the guy, you didn't want me to say, "Hey, he's wiggling that little finger on the changeup." You're one of those guys. You know why? Because you're like Tram. You're such a damn good hitter that you didn't need it, but I needed it.
You did?
Oh, absolutely.
You weren't too bad yourself, you know.
Well, I used to like peek in from, the pitchers used to put the ball in their glove and take the signs.
Yes.
So I would get out there and look and try to relay the sign in. I once had my first base coach relay it to my third base coach, relay it to me. So is that cheating?
If they're going to give you an edge like that, I mean, usually the catcher. We did it in St. Louis once. There was one catcher, I won't mention his name, that always had his fingers down too low, and the third base coach could see the fingers. And so I was a left-hand hitter. So the first base coach was Hal Lanier. Hal Lanier would relay the sign to
when I first came into.
Chuck Hiller was our third base coach, and Chuck Hiller would either get down on, if he went down would put his hands on his knees, it was a breaking ball.
Right.
If he stood up straight, it was a fastball. That was nice.
But if you get caught by Nolan Ryan, what happens?
Well, I'm a left-hand hitter. We're left-hand hitters. We can get out of the way.
Yeah. So, do you think it's fair for a guy to be on second base now and look in a pitcher's glove if he shows you and relay that sign? Because baseball has come out with the directive not to relay signs,
Right.
Especially with video. But if a guy's sitting there and he's got that glove open and you're looking right at it and you see the change-up grip, do you think it's fair to relay that? We'll come back to that.
Yes and no. I think
but you don't want to admit to it?
I think the guy up at Wrigley Field in the scoreboard, when Leo DeRocher was managing the Dodgers, the Cubs back in the 60s, that had a guy up there that was the scoreboard guy, and he was relaying signs because the games were always on TV in Wrigley Field, and there was always someone in the clubhouse that would run down, and that's cheating. That's cheating.
I agree. So, what do you remember about? You won a couple of world championships. Okay, I won 2 world championships. So we were both very lucky because a lot of guys don't even get into the World Series. But we hooked up in 1988.
Yes.
What's your first? You know what? My first memory of you, we played you in spring training.
Vero Beach.
And you guys came over, I believe, to Lakeland. I hit a bullet, and you just scooped it up like it was nothing. And I said, "Man, who's this guy?" But I found out many years, 11 straight Gold Gloves. Are you kidding me?
Well, my dad was a first baseman and a good fielder. Taught my brother and I how to play. And he also said when we were very little young kids, he goes, "If you can field your position," he goes, "you're going to go in slumps every now and again. That manager is going to be less inclined to take you out of the lineup." He goes, "If you're a bad glove, you've got to hit." He goes, "If you're a good glove, you can win games with your glove." And I never forgot that.
So what do you remember about '88? I mean, you guys were 10-1 against us coming in. Do you know that we felt like we were going to beat you, but you guys had to be totally confident going into that game?
We were not totally confident because you guys had good pitching and a good ball club. You don't win a division and not have a good ball club. And you had very good pitching, and we talked yesterday, pitching's the name of the game. We had you beat right here. Associate hit that home, doesn't hit that home run.
Do you know why?
Why?
Doc Gooden tipped his pitches.
Okay. So he got a fastball.
Did you not know that?
He got a fastball. I heard it.
You've heard that before?
I heard that, yes. It was a fastball first pitch. Line drive over my head.
When he used to look down, he set his curveball, but when he looked down, for some reason it was a fastball because he set his curveball. But that's how good this guy was. Nobody beat him.
I know. People told me that they knew it was coming and they still couldn't hit it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of good fastball hitters in the National League, and Doc he can also drop the hammer on you, but he had that fastball just snuck up on you.
Do you remember how we won that game?
You. Roger McDowell, dead central.
You know, I was 1 for 16 going into that. Have you been in a situation like that? How'd you get out of it? I'm 1 for 16, honest business. I'm walking up there. What am I going to do? I went through 15 stances in the on-deck circle, and I get up there and hit a ball out. How does that happen in this game?
It's called Kirk Gibson, and that's why you were the player you were. That home run you hit in the World Series with the Dodgers was absolutely one of the most incredible.
Good to be lucky.
One of the most incredible things I have ever seen. I got one story. We went to Vero Beach to play your first year with the Dodgers. And what year was that?
88.
88. You guys win. I went up to you. I went out of my way to say hi to you and welcome to the National League. And we're talking for around a minute or two before doing our warm-ups. And then you say your way of saying goodbye to me was, I look forward to competing against you. and I never had anybody ever tell me that before.
I do. So
I'll never forget that.
Okay, so I got to ask you about Seinfeld.
Yes.
How did you get into that? Is that something that you look forward to? Were you nervous?
I was nervous.
And how about the whole storyline?
Well, Jerry was a Met fan, and I was his favorite player. Jerry's from Brooklyn. And it was his concept for the show. Larry David was a Yankee fan, so he also a baseball fan. So they conceived this whole show. I was a year retired, and I had never acted, never had any desire to act. And they got a hold of me through my agent, my baseball agent, who I didn't have anymore. And, they just said, we'll pay you $15,000, come to L.A. for a week. I said, I'll do it.
So wasn't the storyline? Wait a minute. You were supposed to. You were doing. Was her name Ellen?
Elaine.
So Elaine, but then Jerry kind of.
Yeah,
he wanted you to help. We wanted you to help him move, and
he wanted to help. He wanted me to help him move it first, and then I'm going to move on Elaine, and he got a little upset about that. So
you wanted to help Elaine move, not him?
No, I wanted to move. I wanted to move in on Elaine.
That's what I'm saying. You wanted to move Jerry up.
Anyway, it was a great show. It was one of the great experiences.
Do you know Jerry very well?
Yeah, he's got a box here, and he comes up to the booth. He's been in the booth with us more than a few times. He's a huge Met fan.
They're telling me to wrap it up, but let me get. Oh, I don't know. I want to ask you. We played you. Remember when Coney made those comments about Jay?
Yes.
What did you think? Good. That's really smart.
I was so
and I love Coney
pissed.
Because he said that Jay Howell had a high school curveball.
I knew Lasorda was going to go berserk.
Wait a minute, but you guys got him kicked out for using pine tar too, so it was game on.
No, that was Davey that did that. That was your closer. Who was your closer?
Jay Howell, the guy that Coney said. He said he had a high school.
I didn't mind that. He had pine tar, so what? You got to throw the ball over the plate,
but
right?
He got kicked out.
I know that was Davey, not me, but. When Coney, that was game 3. Coney won 20 games that year, and he didn't pitch. He didn't start in April, and he went 20-4 or 20-3. And we're up there. Okay, we got lucky and beat Hershiser game 1, 1-0. Carter got the bloop to center field, and then we go to Dodger Stadium. And we're at Dodger Stadium, and Coney's pitching, and Lasorda's screaming at him. I remember I went up to Bob Ojeda, and we're going to wrap it up, but we're going to talk a little longer. I go to Bob Ojeda, and I had to say BP. I go, Bob, how's Coney? And he goes, go back and talk to him, make sure he's all right.
Yeah.
And he comes back out, I go, how is it? He goes, he's okay. And I went, I should never have taken his word for it. But David was just a wreck. Then he went back and pitched a 3-hit shutout against you in
game 6.
Yep.
And what happened in game 7? Oh,
game 7. I made a terrible play.
That's history.
We got our butt kicked in game 7. We won 100 games and went home. But you know what? I'll tell you what. There was a National League and the American League back then, and we were representative of the National League, and you guys went there, and you beat the Oakland A's, and I was so happy, and you beat them bad, and that was fantastic.
Well, we'll talk again some other time. I think we got to do an hour show next time. Okay. A lot more to say about our competing against each other. Good to see you still.
You
do a hell of a job on baseball.
I'm not competing with you
No,
anymore.
we are going to play ping pong because I play everybody in ping pong to see how good I'm not. Thanks again.
All right.
That's it, folks.
Oh, that's great. All right.
Second spitter. Yes.